The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? Today, Amber and Scott are discussing Scream 7. What else do you want to know? Dumb people get killed in all sorts of gory ways. That's its thing. See how Amber and Scott would do stuff smarter. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Oh, look. A whole bunch of indiscriminate killings for seemingly no reason other than to get revenge on somebody once. I feel like I've seen this plot at least once or, 6 times beforehand.
Yes, and in a lot of other slasher movies, such as I Know What You Did Last Summer and so many more. But, friends, today we are here to talk about Scream, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but Scream 7.
Yeah, not 6, 7.
Ha ha ha. When a new Ghostface killer emerges in the quiet town where Sidney Prescott has built a new life, her darkest fears are realized as her daughter becomes the next target. Determined to protect her family, Sidney must face the horrors of the past to put an end to the bloodshed once and for all.
Once and for all, until Scream 8.
Yeah. So if you are familiar with this franchise, you basically know enough to watch Scream 7, even if you've missed a couple Screams in there. I've missed a couple of Screams in there, and I was a little concerned, but as long as you know the main players from, if you saw, even going back to Scream 1, 30-something years ago, if you know who Dewey is, if you know who Gale is, all these characters from the first one, you're going to understand the references, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I've seen one a long time ago. I don't know that I've actually seen any of the other ones, but you're right. I picked it up super easily. Like, it wasn't at all hard. Now, if you've never seen any Scream and 7's your first one, you might have a little bit of a problem there. I
mean, it's still a slasher film, and you will understand that people are getting killed, and it has to do with Sidney going through something as a child. But yeah, they definitely reference some characters. And as is all the rage with even the latest incarnation of I Know What You Did Last Summer, we are in full-on nostalgia mode with bringing back lots of characters that have long since died. And we can do that because AI is a thing now.
Yeah.
So even though the actors aren't AI, they're coming back to the film under the guise of AI, like, hey, you're dead, but, oh, there you are.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of doing it. I mean, really, in the world of AI, even characters who are killed off do not necessarily have to be killed off. They can always find a way of bringing him back under the guise of AI.
Yeah, there's always been some sort of workaround of, oh, gee, you weren't really dead, or you come back as a ghost, or you come back as a flashback. But this is the first time I've seen a film is bringing back dead characters as in, hey, there's a bad guy, and he's using AI to make it seem like he's these people who are dead. And this film basically follows Sidney Prescott, who is now Sidney Evans, and she lives in a sleepy little town and owns a coffee shop. She has a teenage daughter and a husband who is the police chief, and she is still not safe after all these years, 30-something years.
Well, of course not. She's a woman living in America. I mean...
Well, fortunately, we're all not running from serial killers.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So the film starts off as we see 2 horror aficionados checking into a theme house for the movie Stab. And Stab is the fictional horror movie within the Scream franchise that shares the story of Sidney's real-life drama with Ghostface. And, of course, they're murdered, and then we're up and going, and Sidney has a teenage daughter who is mostly oblivious to anything about her mom, other than the fact she's seen the movie, she's read the books, but she hasn't heard squat from her mom herself because her mom just doesn't want to go there and wants to protect her. But her daughter also lives in a world where all of this information is out there, but it's fictionalized, and her daughter doesn't quite always know where the lines are of what really happened to her mom.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of an interesting question as to whether or not you would actually tell your kids. I mean, obviously when they're young, no. But what is the age that a parent starts telling their children about when they were hunted by multiple serial killers in the past?
Yeah, and how many people you've had to kill in the process, because Sidney Prescott is still here to tell the tale decades later, and she herself has killed a lot of people just to survive.
Yeah, has she? I wonder if her body count has exceeded, like, individual Ghostface's body count at this point.
That's an interesting question. I have to think it has.
It might be. Well, of course, you also have the problem that,
Or at least close.
that like, in a lot of these movies, I'm assuming actually all of them, it's not that there's one, there are multiple, and figuring out what that multiple is.
Yeah, because we see initially Ghostface show up at the school, and then we see Ghostface show up at the Evans house, which is Sidney's married name. But they kill the Ghostface from the house, but my first thought was like, we don't know if that's the same Ghostface as the one at the school, and
Well,
sure enough, it wasn't.
I mean, it was still too early in the movie. Like,
Oh, no, I mean, you watch these movies, you know that you can't cut locations and scenes and assume it's the same one.
oh yeah, no. Like they ran down the first one, and I'm thinking, okay, well, this movie's not gone on long enough. They're clearly not the only one.
So what would you do if you were Sidney and you had a teen daughter who, number one, is named after your best friend who was murdered by Ghostface and wants to know about what it was like growing up? Like, for example, Sidney was in plays in college and her daughter is in plays, but her daughter had no idea that her mom was in plays because her mom doesn't talk about her past because it all has to do with mayhem and murder. So what would you do if you were Sidney and you had a curious teen who wanted to know about your life?
I think when you get to the point where the teen is asking, I think that's when you're answering. I do. Now, I'm not going to be like, rite of passage, you've turned 13 now. Now I will tell you about all the murders I've done.
Yeah, here's my list of people I've killed.
But
and to survive, I mean, not out of malice, but out of survival.
yeah, no, I think it's definitely something that you somewhat try to hide, but at a certain point, if it's just out there, I think you have to address it. And this just kind of reminds me of someone I dated a long time ago who had kids, and their kid's dad had done something, we're just going to say fairly awful. It's not murder, but fairly awful. And it was, unfortunately, because of who he was, it was fairly publicized about these awful things. And her fear was that her kids one day were going to do a lookup on their dad online and see all these horrible things. And like, she knew she had to be prepared that if they asked, but in the same respect, she wasn't offered it. She's like, okay. And it's the same thing here. Like, you don't offer up the information, but as soon as they start asking, you need to make sure that they're getting the correct information, or at least the correctly framed information from you.
Okay, so a couple thoughts. Number one, it's almost like if you're a teenager and you ask your parents, are you adopted? Or am I adopted? If you ask a direct question and you are a teenager, let's just say you're in high school, because maybe you're 13. I still think that might be a little young. If you are in high school age, and you ask a direct question like that, I do think as a parent, you have to have an honest conversation with your kid. That said, and this is where I deviate a little bit from this, is Sidney Prescott has been fighting for her life since the 90s. And if every time you think you're safe, I don't know, another bad guy comes back and tries to kill you and everyone you know, I think somehow, some way, you've got to give your kid a heads up about being safe and trusting people, because she's very passive aggressive in the fact that, like, I don't like your boyfriend. Why do you trust him? You don't know anything about him. But she doesn't give it context, as in, hey, let me talk to you about what it means to be my daughter. And that means that there are people who are a little obsessed with me, that they are too involved about my backstory. And not only are there people who could want to hurt me or hurt us, there's also people who are just a little unstable and want to get in on it. And this is the reality that we live in if we're not living in the middle of the woods nowhere, which honestly, you're not even safe if you're in the middle of the woods.
I mean, we also don't know the exact timeline as far as how long it had been since the last time that she had to deal with the Ghostface killer, since she didn't in 6. Because she wasn't in that 6.
Yeah, and unfortunately I didn't see 5. So yeah, we do lack some context there. But
yeah, like if this is one of those things, like the last time was before her daughter was born, I think it's realistic to think, okay, this is probably a non-issue. But if
I don't think it's ever a non-issue as long as your legacy is always being rerun in movie marathons and people have posters up and that there is themed houses around all the murders. Is it ever really done? Because it's such a part of pop culture.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. You don't necessarily expect people to just be like, hey, I'm going to be a murderer because I saw some movies. I don't know. I mean, again, if it's been somewhat recent, like let's say her daughter was 9 or 10 the last time it happened, yeah, you probably need to open up, or you need to at least explain to her why you are being one of those bubble parents and
Helicopter parent?
Helicopter, sure, whatever. Keep their kid in a bubble. Overly protective. Like, so just so you know, it's not because I have a mental condition here. It's because there's literally a very, very, very good reason why I am more overprotective with you. And if this was a different family dynamic, I wouldn't be.
Right.
So I do think the daughter needs to know that, but you still kind of run up against an age. But yeah, Tatum was old enough at that point. And she needed to know, especially as soon as there was any thought that this guy could be back. Like, if I'm Sidney, I'm just spilling my beans at that point. I'm like, I'm just telling you everything because the most important thing here is that you stay alive.
At some point in the movie, and just, we're not obviously going to follow the play-by-play here in the film because people try and dress up like Ghostface, try and kill Sidney and her kid and her husband, and that's kind of the recurring theme over and over and over throughout the film. But there's a moment there where we are led to believe that Sidney, or Tatum, Sidney's daughter, her crush might be the killer. And he is supposedly getting Tatum to safety, but Tatum sees a laptop in his car where it shows him and the AI image of who we think the killer is. And he says, no, I was just playing around to see if it was possible because we know he's interested in technology and AI. And she's like, oh, heck no. And she hits him with a laptop and gets out of the car and runs and runs and runs. Now, turns out he is actually not Ghostface. But if you were Tatum and you saw the laptop with pretty much overwhelming circumstantial evidence that this guy is the one behind this Ghostface killing and the one creating the AI images of the people we think are dead, what would you do if you were Tatum?
First of all, I'm going to say, at the very, very, very least, the fact that he would do this replicating the killer, because mind you, he could have replicated somebody else. He could have just, if all you want to do is test the technology, you could use somebody else and somebody else's voice and talking about something else just to see it actually works. So the fact that he was directly trying to use the killer, like that horrible lack of judgment is...
He's 17. He's got lack of judgment everywhere.
Even still, like that, like I've had lack of judgment. I don't think even I at 17 would have had that gross a lack of judgment. So, and to leave it up on your laptop where it could be, no.
Yeah, who leaves a laptop open with video running in their car? I mean, obviously this is a movie thing. This doesn't, this isn't a real judgment call here because that was ridiculous. And in the context of a movie, I suppose it had to happen.
No, you're not trusting at all. And like literally at that point, I'm not trusting, period. Especially because of the concept that there could be more than one Ghostface. So even though a Ghostface comes out while you're in there, it does not mean that he is not.
That's true. That's a good point. At one point, now, Tatum is on the run from a Ghostface after she hit her crush in the head with a computer. And she barricades herself in the office of her mom's coffee shop. And Ghostface is out there trying to get in. And her mom's talking to her on the phone saying, get the gun out of the safe. Shoot, shoot, shoot. And when he's down, shoot him in the head. Earlier in the film, we have heard people talk about Tatum being shy and timid and meek. And she was like, I don't know if I can. Oh my gosh. That girl should just be thrown out to the Ghostface right there. I don't know if I can. It's literally, you're going to die if you don't do this.
Yeah.
You summon it.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, you summon it, just the adrenaline alone, I would think, would give you capability that you might not ordinarily have. But when it comes to a you or them situation, and only one of us gets to walk away, you do not hesitate like Tatum did of apprehensively walking quietly and gently towards the Ghostface killer that's laying on the ground, who you assume you've shot multiple times.
Yeah. So
you open the door, you shoot him in the head, right there.
Here's the thing. If you're going to pick up a gun in a self-defense way, number one, that gun needs to be loaded. Do not attempt to do something with an unloaded gun.
Well, it was loaded.
Well, I know. I'm just noting here. If you try to do something with an unloaded gun and they can catch wind that it's unloaded, then, yeah, that's not good. So it should definitely be loaded. And if you're willing to brandish a loaded gun for self-defense, you need to be prepared to empty the clip.
Yeah, you don't think that you're ever going to pick up a gun and you are going to terrify the bad person to just all of a sudden just willingly call the police and get cuffed up and go to prison for life. They are smart enough to know that it's you or them too, so they will seize any opportunity to take you down or take you out. You cannot hesitate.
Yeah, you cannot hesitate at all. Like, they've already proven that they are not screwing around. They are attempting to kill you. It is a do or die situation. And I don't mean shoot him once. I mean...
12 times.
You shoot until that gun doesn't have bullets anymore.
Yeah, and then you grab spikes and garden shears and whatever you have to do to plunge it into all the body parts.
And that's one thing I want to note.
What's that?
Here. There were many times in the movie where the Ghostface had been at least temporarily neutralized. Mm-hmm. Like, he got knocked down, hit with a beer bottle, like, he was down for some reason.
I know where you're going with
Boys
this.
and girls, this is not the time to run. This is not the time to run. This is the time to, even if you don't have a gun, you get something and you smash his head in. You get on top, you pound. Well,
I wouldn't get on top because then they could grab you and kill you.
Whatever you have to do.
You get a bat or a chair or...
And that's the thing. If you attempt to kill me, then immediately the only acceptable outcome for me is to kill you, not neutralize you. Because if you're neutralized, especially if you're smaller, they can just get up and go after you. You've got to take advantage of a situation like that when they are stunned. And if they had, this would have been a very different scenario.
And that's the case with all horror movies, is you have to assume that anyone that you attack is not really dead. And that is valuable information to take into the real world. Whereas if someone comes after you, you are able to defend yourself, and you do not... I have no desire to have someone who attacked me and killed my family and killed my friends to calmly sit there while the police show up, and then they go through the criminal justice system and they get bail, and I live in fear the rest of my life. If they attack me, I'm sorry, you're going down. And if this is used as evidence in a future crime, I guess so be it.
And if you really don't want to just empty the clip, like you have them down and you think they might be dead, step back about 7 feet. Do not take your eyes off of them. Do not stop pointing the gun at them. If they move, you shoot them again.
Yep.
I mean, that's because you're not easily going to be able to tell if they're dead or not without getting close proximity. And if they're not dead in close proximity, they can do something to make you the dead one.
Yeah, if it's not clear, folks, here, we are very pro killing the serial killers that try to kill you here. So
yeah, no, I'm not about doing the minimum to make it so that they're powerless, but then get arrested. Like, no. Yeah, no, you finish them.
So another what would you do is after one of the attacks, the family comes back to the house, seeing her husband and Tatum, and they send in the cops since he's the chief and like, make sure it's safe. And they look under the beds and they look in the closet and they say, "Oh, good, chief." And they all walk in to get their go bags so they can get out of there and get to safety. But they don't check the attic. So out comes Ghostface from the attic and chaos ensues.
In fairness, I'm not checking the attic either. Because there's no evidence that the attic's been tampered with or how he would get up there. So,
I think I would at least like to think that next time there's a serial killer that they'll check the attic. But this is a crafty killer, and if I was Sidney, I'd be giving them a list of places to check because after surviving everything I have, if I'm Sidney, I know where to tell them to look.
Well, here's the other problem with checking the attic. So if they're up there, they have the high ground. Like, you're going to have to go up in some form of a semi-neutralized position to attempt to find them.
What?
And if all they're doing is laying by the attic in a way where just you pop up and you just get knifed in the head, I mean, you're on a ladder.
What?
You're not fighting back.
Okay, so
not until you're dead, at least.
There have been many other horror films where there's something about that angle that you're talking about. I have a vision in my head of one that I've seen, and I'm drawing a blank here of what it is in the moment. But yeah, you have to assume that there's a killer around every corner. So you stand under that, you put your hands on that, whatever that cover is on the top of the attic, and you push your hands up and you make it go flying, and then you see if you hear anything. But you do not just stick your head up. You do something else. You put up something else. I don't know how you do it. I'm not a trained police officer, as you can tell.
Yeah, I don't. Like, if you're a killer who's ready for someone, like, that's not really going to get you. I mean, the truth of the matter is,
I would set the house on fire, and then that way you got all your bases covered.
Yeah, maybe you don't have to quite go that far. Yeah, so
like in a Carrie-esque gymnasium fire kind of a way. Just burn, baby, burn.
And it should be noted that if you are ever in some form of a life-threatening situation like this, you always want the high ground if you can get it. Like if,
the moral high ground or the physical high ground?
The physical high ground.
Okay.
Like if somebody's chasing you up the steps.
Oh, yeah, you don't ever want to be on the bottom beneath somebody.
Yeah, like you can kick them and try to make them go down. It's more difficult for them to make you go down because they're behind you.
Yeah.
Or really any situation where you can get an actual high ground. The one exception to that is if your high ground involves being stuck in a harness.
What?
If your high ground involves being stuck in a harness.
Yeah, one of the gals. I knew that was as soon as we saw them at the play and Hannah was rigged up to fly, I thought, oh yeah, no, that's part of her death.
Yeah, they're going to use that. Yeah, you don't want that high ground.
No, absolutely not. So be safe out there, and I guess take them down when you have the chance.
Good luck. Have fun. Don't die.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.